Hi and welcome to Dynamics Update. Today we have a guest here, but I also, of course, have Gustav Sumblad. Hi, Gustav.
Hello, Johan. Nice to be here.
Yeah, nice to have you here. Today we actually have a returning guest on the podcast. We have been talking to Max before. That time we talked about dual write. Let's see what today brings. Hi, Max. Let us know a little bit more about yourself.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for having me, first of all. Yeah, like you said, my name is Max. I'm working at Microsoft as a technical consultant. And last time we talked about the do-write utility. And today we can talk about the telemetry, what I've also contributed on.
Yeah, so the thing is, we had an episode a while ago about the telemetry agent. And what I realized was that we did things a bit backwards because we talked first about the agent and not about telemetry. And so I thought we should probably have had Max on before to actually go through like the telemetry infrastructure and background. So we had a bit more to understand about that. So
in fairness, we did cover some telemetry on that podcast
Yes.
as well. But as you mentioned, I mean, Max, you are one of the main people or the main guy behind the ISM Telemetry Model, which is out there. And I at least have used it a lot, even though, and now with the last versions coming out, there's been a lot of additions into the standard telemetry output. So can you tell us a little bit about the ISM model that you built, of course, maybe together with more people, but just explain what it does and why should we use it?
Yeah, so the ISM model, I mean, technically, everybody can build also with the out-of-the-box classes his own telemetry. The ISM model we built because when I started with exploring the application insights from the out-of-the-box, I found it a bit difficult to get to emit telemetry. So we've basically built more like a wrapper around it to make it easier for partners and customers to easily, start their telemetry journey, let's say that way, where they can have their own classes, parameterization, because also cost was always a question or topic, let's say, and with ISM telemetry, you can simply just turn off some telemetry which you don't want, and it just implements directly with the classes, with a base class and a child class. So it makes it quite easy to implement. And in addition, we also build already some functionality, so you don't need to build everything from scratch. And anybody can use it. As a start, we had let me just check. So we have included batch job monitoring. We have DMF imports and exports. We have also Excel exports, which, by the way, you should definitely have a look at, because Excel exports can cause crashes of your system. If, not going to blame finance users, but they are the ones mainly exporting large
let's blame
amounts.
them anyway. Yeah, let's blame them anyway. They are culprits. Yeah.
Then you also get the business events tracking. So, that was also something invisible for me. Usually, did the business event go out now or not? And with what payload? And when did it go out? Stuff like that. And we just added it and made it available to everybody, because I thought, we thought, not just me, right? So shout out to Igor and Prashant here, who helped me bringing their ideas in, their feedback, and so on to build this thing.
Yeah, of course, and especially everything you said is actually really hits the spot, but especially the business events, which has been tricky to track within that. If everything works, it's fine, but when it doesn't work, then it's really tricky, right? Because you don't really have a nice little form within Dynamics to track these things. So, but yeah. So what you're saying is that even if we use the standard built-in telemetry, ISM telemetry can still be a very helpful tool for you to get started with your own telemetry, as well as giving you something out of the box with the models then, of course, that is not there in standard. Because I think that's one point which is easily missed, because we all, in the last discussion we had with Prashant and Hemant as well, it's very easy to get started, right? It's very easy to set it up. You just set up an application insights, you flick the switch pretty much. or in the ISM case, you install the model, and then you get a ton of data out just from the start, right? So that's the first thing you need to do. Kind of, okay, what do I need to do with this data now? And then we have dashboards, and we have a lot of good things on from Fast Track, and from it's readily available to be installed. But I think especially that you mentioned with ISM telemetry, figuring out where you need to add your own emission points, right? Because that's another thing that people, I think, tend to forget. It's like, oh, I'm missing this telemetry point. Yeah, but then you need to add it. So it kind of needs to go into your development story, or your like order tracking, for instance. You might have customized jobs, right? Then you need to add telemetry points to that to get exactly what you want out of telemetry. That's another thing people tend to miss, that it's not just flicking the switch. You also need to consider what you want to track.
Yeah, and I think this is a very good point. Like, the ISM is not only offering that few telemetry points, what I just said. It gives you basically the basis of tracking your own customizations. I mean, there's probably not so many customers which did not do any customizations, and ISM will help you get easier started on your own telemetry tracking. So you have some mysteries you have in production, but you never seen it in test systems. But how are you gonna figure them out? So this is where I would use always the telemetry. You can add it in your dev system, test it, see how the data comes through, and then you can deploy it to production. And then you see nicely where maybe some issues are sitting, or what error messages appear, what users are doing. And it's not only a technical topic. You can also track certain KPIs if you want to. If you put it in the right places, you can also track business KPIs with it, if you want to, like runtimes of certain jobs with some certain throughput, which you cannot 100% analyze by just using Power BI reports, for example, and you extract the data, because some stuff is just saved on runtime, and maybe you want to track exactly that. And instead of building another table in Dynamics, you're going to just drop it to App Insights. Then you need to think, of course, about how long you need that data, because usually it's like 30 days and then it's gone, or you extract it somewhere else. That's another thing. But most of the time, you can, 30 days is enough for most
tracking,
short-term tracking, let's say.
Yeah. And you touched on that before, Max, because I mean the reason for discussing the retention time is, of course, the cost, because data costs, especially if you put it in Azure, there is always a cost associated with it. But I mean, that's why I would actually argue that setting it up and getting it, even if you set it to the minimum retention time, even if you lock it down to like maximum 1 gigabyte a day, and it's being purged after like only a week or something, being able to start working with the telemetry, because I mean, you as you Gustav talked about before, you don't get from like newbie to pro on telemetry in a day. You need to actually have data to look at. So I would argue that setting it up is I mean a very important first step, because most of customers that I'm talking to is sort of, they are only using LCS for telemetry, and LCS is not going to be there forever. So I mean, getting starting and having a look at what are we actually getting out of this telemetry is, I think, a really important way to get started.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a journey, right? I mean, one of the easiest thing that I do still is just, I go to Application Insights, just give me everything in the last 24 hours, and then I just filter out exceptions. Just gives me a kind of something to look at, and then I kind of dive down the bunny hole and compare with the batch jobs. It gives me a sense, but because I know my environments, right? It gives me a sense of a heartbeat. And then, of course, that's the easy thing, because that takes very, very little time to set up. You just log on and you press, like, you filter and search. It's a very nice dashboard. But then the other way is, of course, when you have your KPIs and when you have your heartbeats, then you can actually use Application Insights to set up alerts as well. So it's kind of, it's a very nice place to build actual monitoring. And I know ISM telemetry is easier than a lot of things that you mentioned, Max. It's not like, did the batch job run, or did it run for too long? It might be, how long did it take for this order to come in through the CSU or through third party or whatever, and to be posted pick list. And that is a KPI. You can measure that, of course, with like tables. You can push it to Synapse or Fabric, but then you don't get the real time, or near real time, basically, measurement that you might want. Because if it's delayed with 10 minutes, that's a problem right now. It's not a problem in an hour. It's a problem that we have right now. And those things you can, but that's more advanced, of course. But then you need to understand your data. So you can you can do both, right? You can do this big sweep and find out whatever is wrong with my environment, or you can go surgically in and build, but you need to kind of know what you're looking for.
Yeah. Or just by default, build it in your, measure your critical business processes where you don't want to lose time, for example. Let's say you have an order entry which is very critical, so you want to know how long it maybe takes to import an order or post an order, because you're going to post 5,000 of them in an hour or 10,000 of them, and then each millisecond or each second counts. So if you have a heavy process there, you maybe want to look at it more detailed.
Yeah, definitely.
I remember one of my first customer engagements with AX 2012. I've not been in this as long as Gustav has. I've only been doing this for like 12 years. But one of the first ones I got from like infrastructure into AX 2012. And my first project was actually a performance issue at an existing project. So I went in and I was like, so what's happening? It's slow. Okay, so what's slow?
Classic.
We don't know. It's just slow. Okay, so how fast is it supposed to be? We don't know that either. Okay, so have you any measurements? No, we don't have any measurements. So it's like, how are you supposed to tell me that it's slow if you don't know how fast it's supposed to be and how long it actually takes? So we actually built exactly what you talked about, measuring business processes. So we actually built this in AX 2012, where we actually took when someone pushed the button, the first thing we did, we just put a timestamp in a database table. And then once the whole transaction had gone through, we put a new timestamp so we could actually measure it. And I mean, that's really important, because when you do like an upgrade or you deploy a new customization or you change indexes or stuff, being able to tell users that, yes, we can actually see that it's slow, or no, it's not slower than it was yesterday or the day before. FYI. So, I mean, understanding what actually slow means is a really important part.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's true. And also sometimes the reported slowness is very subjective. So it's
yeah, if you leave the kids at kindergarten in the morning and it's raining, then the system is much slower.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, and if you have the right measure points in place, and their performance is also one good topic you can track there, right? But if you have the measure points in place, then you can say, okay, how it was 30 days ago and how it's today, and then you can compare. Hey, maybe what has changed, or how was it at peak hours, maybe at lunchtime or in the afternoon, and how was it then at night when the system is idle. And it also gives you insight, hey, maybe I can move some load to another hour, so not everything is at the same hour when you start analyzing what are your processes.
Yeah.
And,
yeah, definitely. And I mean, just in the batch telemetry that we covered earlier as well, Prashant gives you exactly that with your automated runtimes. Exactly. And you have these dashboards that get you started. And I mean, it's just a super easy, in my mind at least, easy way to get started with getting into that insight and then kind of dive deeper. But now, and I'm playing around a little bit with this as well, together with Prashant as well. Like now we have MCP server capabilities, we have a lot of agents running, we have the batch telemetry agent we mentioned. That really opens up, for at least for me, a lot of scenarios that are super cool, because you have telemetry, from F&O we're discussing here, but to make it work, like opening up more scenarios, you can connect your other applications to the same application insights, right? So you kind of take a bigger sweep at your telemetry across your enterprise. So you have AIS can also post to the same application insights, and then you have this big repository where you can track times like throughout the entire end-to-end chain. And when you see those, and as you said, if you then have the measures like what am I expecting here? Let's say 10 minutes is my expected kind of order to pick time. Then you can either have the agent like dynamically calculate that, or set it as a knowledge source. Just these are my expected times, right? And then you can really start automating actions, or maybe just notifications to start with. But with MCP, I mean, nothing is stopping you from actually taking action then within the ERP or anywhere else. So it's kind of opens up this whole new ball game of automating not only like data-driven analysis, but also data-driven automation. That's really cool to see where that ends up.
Yep, that's true. I mean, you could technically, so, and what I would encourage everybody has some integrations, talk to your middleware or whoever is developing that, and try to make some connection between Dynamics when Dynamics calls your middleware or middleware calls Dynamics, that you have some sort of common, let's say, reference, so you can join both systems together, because then you can link from Dynamics to middleware and then to the third party when the middleware posts it to the third party, or vice versa. And then this all gives you, like you said, trigger points to build agents on top of it. So if your order fails to import in Dynamics, or it's like not 100% imported, maybe some values are missing, so that could be a trigger that you then execute some additional data enrichment through an agent to validate or fix the error where previously somebody had to do it manually.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it goes back to what we said before, right? Because then you need to remember to have telemetry as a part of your design work. So if you design your integrations right, if you do it right, you should still have a natural key. Order is a good example, right? Because the order ID is normally something you can track. But then you have commerce, where we don't have the sales order number until it gets created in Dynamics. So you need to have some kind of common sales ID. So as long as you have these across your end-to-end scenarios, then it's really nice for end users as well. Or, I mean, the best telemetry agent is one perfect where you can post to Teams. You can also have an order agent, like posting to Teams for support channels. Just, okay, where is the order 1, 2, 3? And then they can track it. Yeah, it went to Dynamics, but it didn't go. It went to the CSU, but it was never created. And then maybe you could figure out, do we have an issue right now with pulling the orders from CSU, perhaps? There's a lot of these scenarios where just getting the data into one place, and as you say, Max, to have like a common agreement. What should we use to track here? We shouldn't use the rec ID from Dynamics, perhaps, because it's Dynamics oriented. We should have something else, and then you can use that as a tracker between all of your different applications.
Yep, true. And also what you can replace, like how many log tables have been built for integrations in Dynamics to, track what error message we got and why this failed and so on. So you can kind of replace this all with your application insights and with your telemetry. Instead of creating some custom tables, just put it into App Insights, and then you can just analyze it there. Much more convenient. You can do it cross-environment if you want to. If you store everything in the same resource, or and it's simple to adjust, because in your log table in Dynamics, you want to have a new field, you need to add a new field.
Yeah, exactly.
In the telemetry, you just write one line of code, add a property, and that's it, and it goes
exactly. Yeah, it's also cost saving from a storage perspective. If you want to really do analytics on your log, you need to push your log through Synapse or Fabric, and then you everything becomes larger, right? And as you said before as well, normally it's not interesting for me to see how long did it take 2 years ago for me to post the order. I want to see how it performs right now, maybe 2 weeks back, maybe a month back, just to get some measure. But that's pretty much it. I'm not interested in seeing performance metrics from a year ago unless I'm building something fancy from a report perspective. You want to know right now what is slowing my system down, or right now what is stopping my order from being being picked or shipped. So it's a lot of things that you can really leverage telemetry on. But again, keeping that mindset when you design, when you do like the initial analysis of a project, it's easier to have that mindset with you. Just emit something, like any custom service that you build. Just add a little emission to say, okay, now I'm done, and then include the order ID or whatever reference you have. It makes your life a lot easier.
Yeah, and that's I recommend definitely to do that, right? That's the way to go. Just add it's like a couple lines of code to get started.
Yeah.
Classes, you can just copy paste and you get started, or just use the generic one if you're too lazy to create a separate one. But
exactly.
that gives so much less headaches. Also, one thing to not underestimate, right, is it's out of the box, the exceptions, the exception log. This is something, anyone who is technical here, who's seen the error message, object reference not set to an instance of an object, error message appearing, in the red bar on top of your Dynamics instance, and you go like, okay, I have no idea where this originated from. And with that out of the box system exception, so it saves it in the exception table in App Insights, and then you query it, and then you get a call stack with it. So you not only see the error message, you see when it happened, by whom, and what is the call stack. So you don't need to start copying your database to your dev machine and then start debugging and hope that you find it somewhere. You just look there, you have the call stack, and then you can get easy start and get an idea how to fix it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you might not even be able to copy the database, because if production it takes a lot of time to get it from there. So you might not even be able to debug it anyway. So being able to see the debug data directly from a production environment has a great value.
Yep.
Definitely. Yeah. And as you said, it's a cheaper way. Cheaper if you flick the switch on commerce telemetry, it kind of says "boom," and then you get a lot, right? Because you might not want to turn on all telemetry, because you will not see the forest for all the trees, right? But it's not that tricky. Are you using advanced warehousing? Makes sense to turn that on. You might want to analyze your batch jobs, right? Turn that on. If you're not using commerce, just don't use commerce, right? From a telemetry perspective. But other than that, it's not. At least I haven't seen an issue right now with too much telemetry. The tricky part is figuring out how to build your analytics and how to build your notifications on it. Your reference there, Johan, I think it was good from AX2012. I sound like a dinosaur if you say that I've been working with Dynamics longer than you, but maybe we can debate
it's
that
true.
Later on.
It's true.
Yeah, we can debate that later on. But then you had access to the real time to the live database, right? So you could build actual monitoring based off SQL. So you could just monitor batch jobs through that. And now to achieve that, we can use looking again at the best telemetry agent, but regardless if you have an agent or not, in order to achieve actual monitoring, where you can build notifications and alerts that act on as fast as possible data, then you need to use application insights or at least telemetry output, right? Because it's the only and best way to do it. Everything else, you can't have a batch job monitoring another batch job, because that just inherently will fail.
Yeah, that's true. No, I've seen it that way as well. But it's
it's not great, right?
Yeah. No, it's
and if you use Synapse or Fabric on that one, you might you have an issue, but you might be 10 to 15 minutes late to that issue as well, right? So Fabric and Synapse is great for this big monitoring, and you can build reports, and definitely it's not like telemetry and application insights is the only source. It's just the fastest source for the analytics you might want to get fast actions on.
Yeah, and it can be more granular, because you have an invoice posting batch job. Yeah, it was running for 4 hours, but how much did it post? Did it post 10 invoices, or did it post 5,000. So, it's a big difference between
definitely.
those numbers. So you want to maybe know, okay, this batch job was running for 5,000, and that's why it took so long. It would be more worrying when it would be just 20 and it takes 4 hours, of course.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is what you can get out of it.
Definitely. So, Johan, what's your? How much are you using the dashboards right now at different clients, or is it like, are you mainly using application insights as a basis, or are you also using the dashboards?
So the thing is that I don't have like regular customers where I work. So usually I come in and tell them that application insights is a good thing. The only thing is that I sort of what I realized is that since it requires infrastructure in Azure, people tend to think that it's a big step to get it running. I mean, I as I said, I stuck my neck out a couple of weeks ago when you and I talked, Gustav, that we could probably set it up in 2 hours, and I sort of stand by it, because getting it to put data into application insights is not the hard thing. It's really quick. Getting the ISM model installed takes a bit longer, but it's still not that big of a deal.
No, the time it takes to install is mainly just ALM, right? You need to get it through dev first, and then proper cycle, right? But,
exactly. So I would, I mean, if I were to like give a call to action, I would say get it set up with a minimum amount of data retention, so that it doesn't cost an arm and a leg. Get ISM Telemetry Module installed, just to be able to see, like, as you said, business events and like more granular on certain things, and then start working with the fast track reports, because they will get you a long way to, I mean, even past what you can get almost in LCS today, because I mean, there are things that you can get in LCS that you still are not able to get in application insights. But at least you can start getting used to application insights. I think that's an important thing.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, from a batch perspective, again, a lot of these, like, throttling, queue priority, a lot of these things that if I'm pulled into a project where, okay, hey Gustav, things are going slow, right? The common the description. Then the first thing you do is you kind of look at the batch jobs, you look at the telemetry, okay, what is going slow? Are they being blocked for some reason? CPU, the classic like analysis of what is actually eating the system right now, and just spitting out. I think I can go even further than you want. I think you can get this up and running within the hour. I think I did it in my own tenant, maybe control. So I was admin, so I could actually press all the buttons as well. So maybe that's also time consuming. Sometimes you need to get approval to get these things. But if you have the access to spin up an application insights in Azure, which is not a tricky thing to do, and just apart from deploying the ISM models, you can definitely get up to speed with exporting telemetry much faster than 2 hours, I think. Then the tricky part is, of course, then, as you say, you want gain insights and build something actionable around that. It takes longer, definitely, but that's really from a client by client basis, really.
But I would say that just getting the batch job measurements up and running and being able to look at the report from Fast Track is a big win. Just being able to see, because I mean, batch job is one of those things where everyone has a lack of insights, being able to see what's actually happening. I mean, the classic example is where you have batch jobs running that haven't actually run, but they said that everything went fine. So it's like, okay.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's true. Yeah. And you don't, if you are really new, I mean, you don't need to start immediately with ISM telemetry to just get a sneak peek what's there. Just get started with the out of the box, because if you look at it, what do you need? You need to spin up application insights. It gives you a log analytics workspace. There you have the connection string. You copy that connection string to telemetry parameters, map the environment, dev, test, or prod, and then get the environment ID from LCS or Power Platform. And that's it.
Yeah.
Put some couple tick boxes, and then you're done. And then it starts emitting a little bit later.
We should have a speed run
and yeah.
contest, setting up telemetry in the fastest time.
Definitely. No, but I think I was up and running. I also deployed the batch telemetry agent within the hour as well, because it's also it is that easy to get it installed, right? And then again, back to the insights. And once you dive into the more advanced parts here with like learning Custo, you don't need to be a Custo expert to start with. It helps if you can ask. I mean, you can also ask Copilot. And again, looking at examples out there, batch telemetry. Again, a shout out here to Prashant and Hemant, of course. But just deploying that gives you a couple of real-life examples of how you can automate things, right? Just using the Custo queries that are included in that. So there's a lot of examples out there, I think is what we're saying, that you can use. You can use ISM telemetry as an example as well, right? To look at the code. It's out there. It's on GitHub. Just look how it's implemented, and then you can gain your own insights on how you can tweak it to your own.
And if you want to learn Custo, there's a nice website, Custo Detective Agency. Just search for it, and then it guides you in a nice way how you can do Custo queries if you're really new to it and want to have it through a fun way and don't read some boring learning material.
So if I connect that as a knowledge source to my agent, will it become a Custo expert?
Probably your agent will be a Custo expert already anyways.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Hopefully at least, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, just use Copilot or GitHub Copilot or any tool. It will help you to interpret Custo query and build you whatever you want, most likely, without you needing to build it manually yourself. Yeah. It gives you a good starting point.
But I think that's a good takeaway as well here. Like that is doable. But you might find that you are lacking the telemetry that you need because you might have customized jobs, right? So that's why it's important to try it out, but take a step back and figure out, as with everything, I think, in this line of like, what question are we actually trying to answer here? If you know that question, if you know the question, then it's easier for you to figure out the answer. But telemetry is just a way of reaching that answer.
Yes, and with that, I think that we actually have covered most of what we set out to do today. I'm hoping we will get the chance to get you back on the show, Max, because it's been really nice talking to you.
Happy to.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yep. So with that, we leave you, and hope that you have a nice time to the next time.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Yep. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.